Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast where I'm at. It's nice and sunny, which always puts me in a good mood for the training. And today we're going to be diving into 6 marketing assets in the federal market. So again, today we're going to be talking about the 6 marketing assets all small businesses in the government space need to have. I just want to put it in context of what I mean when I talk about these marketing assets, right? Because it's just not a marketing exercise. It's a fundamental part of sales and the success that you're going to be building out there. And so these marketing tools that I'm talking about are not like Coca-Cola or the Kardashians where they're marketing and this constant brand awareness. The marketing assets that I'll talk about and that we government contractors use, these are really just stepping stones of relationship building with the customers and the teammates that you want to work with, right? And so as you move forward, each marketing asset is leading to a deeper understanding of your company by your target customer or target teammate. And I'll walk through each one of these assets. But the idea is you want to reduce the friction of your buyer reaching you, of your buyer learning about you, of teammates learning about you and reaching you. We call visibility in the federal market, what we describe visibility as is findable and attractive, meaning they can find you if they're looking for you. If I'm looking for a plumber and I type in clogged sink, your company comes up if you're a plumbing company, right? And when I look at your marketing assets, the things I'll talk about in a minute, they make me see you as a subject matter expert in the plumbing side of the world, right? So you want to reduce the friction it takes to get them there to you. And then you also want to increase that perceived value. And so the marketing assets, each one of them kind of build on each other, increasing the perceived value in who you are. We like to describe it personally as supreme domain authority, right? You want to be seen as the supreme domain authority on whatever area you're an expert at, right? So there's subject matter expertise, and then there's supreme domain authority. You're the company I need to go to when there's plumbing, when there's IT, there's cybersecurity needs. These marketing assets will guide you down that path. In today's training, what we're going to cover down on are what the marketing assets are and just what they mean when I describe each one, what their purpose is. Each one has a specific purpose. It's not just, hey, we created another assets out there. You need to understand the purpose because then you'll understand how to use it and you'll understand how to measure the success of that marketing asset to your government contracting business. And then the last part is I'm going to dive a little bit into the key components of each marketing asset. Today's training is not how to build each one of these marketing assets. I've done multiple trainings over the last year and a half. I've done over 300 trainings and multiple trainings on each one of these marketing assets where I go in and I say, build your capability statement this way or build this asset this way. Today, I just want to touch on some of those components to make sure you're tracking on what they are. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When you follow a process A to Z, you're going to have repeatable, predictable results, and that's what I want for you and for your company. Do me a favor as we get started. Part of the process is letting other people know that you exist. Tell us your company name, your core competency. Just use 2 or 3 words. You can never put your company name or your core competency in too many days in a row. We do this training every single business day, really every single weekday, but put your company name and your core competency in every single time. Don't feel like you've done it 100 times already. You don't need to do it again. First off, yes, you do, because those of us who see you need to be just reminded over and over again. And second, there's all sorts of new people. We're constantly trying to bring new people into the community. So make sure that you're putting that information in so we know who you are. Let others know that you're open to connecting on LinkedIn. By the way, if you want to connect with 50 or 100 other people who are open to connecting, who are in the GovCon space, go to my LinkedIn profile and look at my post from yesterday, I believe, where I opened up my connection. I said, hey, who wants to connect with other people? And many, many people are coming in there saying, I'm open to connections. Reach out to me and connect. So just go into that post and reach out to people and say, hey, I saw you on Neil's post. Love to connect, right? And now you've made another connection in the GovCon space. The first marketing asset that I want to talk about in the government space, and the most important one, is your small business profile. Your small business profile is made up of your initial SAM registration when we form a business and say we want to sell to the federal market. we go into sam.gov and we register. And usually we go through there as fast as we can and do the bare minimums, the required fields. And then the other part of your small business profile is the dynamic small business search, or DSBS, supplemental pages. And these pages have additional information like capability narrative, 2 capability narrative fields, and keywords that you can add in that describe who you are. You're able to sit there and put in your experiences. And in this way, you can register in SAM and say, here's our NAICS codes. And then with DSBS, you're able to say, in narrative, this is what we do. And these are the keywords you can find us by. And these are the people who've been paying us. And so your small business profile is awesome. It's a list of small businesses that want to work with the federal government, right? There's 30 million small businesses in America, roughly 300,000 of them are registered in SAM saying we want to sell to the federal market. And so it's a great place to get in. So to update or to make changes to your SAM data, go into sam.gov, and to make changes for DSBS, it has changed since a few months ago. It is now going into connect.sba.gov. When you go into connect.sba.gov, you register, you're using your typical login.gov registration. And then up in the top menu, it'll say access, request access. And when you request access, you'll see something that says request access to DSBS. Just click on those links. A couple of days later, you'll have access to DSBS supplemental pages, and you can update those. And then if you want to see what your profile currently looks like to the federal buyers, just go to dsbs.sba.gov, go down to the bottom, and you'll see a search area for your cage code, your UEI, or your company name. Put it in and see what you look like. And for the fun of it, put your most important keyword in and see what result you come up as. But that's at dsbs.sba.gov. So that's what your profile is. Let me tell you why it is so important, or what the purpose of it is. And it really is just to maximize your visibility. I said visibility is about being findable and attractive to the buyer. Findable is that idea of the keywords that they're searching for: cybersecurity or information security or risk management framework. All these are kind of related, right? If they search for companies like that, then you want to come up. And so you want to be using the right keywords and the right narrative to maximize your visibility. When you come up and you look attractive to the federal buyer, meaning if they searched on cybersecurity and you look like you're saying we do cybersecurity, then you're going to get invited to the party. You're going to get invited to come in and talk to the government about what you're doing. Maybe they're shaping requirements and they're just trying to engage industry. Maybe they're looking for bids, a few bidders, so you get invited to that. Maybe it's teammates looking to build out a team. As you go forward and you're in DSBS and SAM with your small business profile being strong, you're going to find yourself getting invited to the party and more parties, right? And parties are fun, especially in the federal space. Something to keep in mind too about this purpose is that there's hundreds of thousands of federal buyers. You can't possibly knock on every door out there. And so you want to make sure you're somewhere, and that is the small business profile. You want to be somewhere where buyers are going to look for companies like yours. In the Department of Defense, there's 185,000 acquisition people alone. That's one department out of many within the federal market, right? And so hundreds of thousands of federal buyers, and then certainly hundreds of thousands of small and large businesses who are constantly looking for teaming partners and people who can shore up their team as they go after bigger and bigger opportunities, et cetera. And so you want to be part of that. The biggest problem I find with the small business profiles is that small businesses are virtually invisible in there. You're either invisible because you don't have your data. For example, one of the most important fields is capability narrative. That's the answer to what do you do, right? And so if somebody searches for cybersecurity and you show up, but your capability narrative is blank or basically blank, then you're invisible to the buyer because they just swipe left and say, no, I don't want you, and I'm keeping you to the right. Right? There's other reasons that you're invisible. So go watch my training on your small business profile, your DSBS profile, and you'll find how you can make changes very, very fast that'll increase your visibility with the buyer, reducing the friction of them finding you, right? The second marketing asset every small business government contractor needs to have is a capability statement. The capability statements, the difference here is if your small business profile is to get you found, right? The capability statement is to get you in the door, to get a meeting. That's the whole purpose of the capability statement. I write here that a capability statement is not to inform the other person. And the reason I say that is because I don't want you putting a lot of words on there. You just want enough words, enough content on there that you are invited to have a conversation with them. You're invited to come to a meeting. You want them to say, well, tell me more, right? But if there's too much on there, they're not going to be able to consume it. We don't consume a lot of data anymore. We used to read ebooks and white papers and consume that stuff. We don't do it anymore. Now we do TikTok, except for those of us in the government contracting space don't do TikTok. But now we do TikTok, right? Like 15, 30-second videos. We want something really fast. Well, a capability statement, since its only purpose is to get you in the door, then you want to configure it in a way that they can understand who you are as fast as possible and either reject or accept you. And rejection's not a bad thing, right? If they're only doing construction and you're an IT firm, then why would they want to talk to you and why would you want to talk to them? You guys want to know that faster, not longer. The quick example there. So let me talk about the key components. You can already see if you're watching the video what I mean when I say it should have a Z format. You can see it goes from the top left over to the top right, and then from the top right down to the bottom left, and from the bottom left over to the bottom right. This Z format is how we read sentences. If you look at this sentence I have here, BD in the box helps customers implement enterprise IT modernization strategies, including transitioning. We go to the end of the sentence, come back to the beginning. Go to the end of the sentence and come back. That's a Z format. So your capability statement is just stretching the Z. And the idea of the Z format is it helps people be able to understand your company in 6 seconds or less. That's how fast they need to be able to read and understand what it is you do. If it takes longer, then they get distracted. Anything can happen. They begin to get bored with it. But the minute they can see it and reject you, or see it and accept you, or see it and help you meet somebody else, then that capability statement has done its job. It's done its purpose. And so just really quickly, as you see the Z format, I just want to kind of show you a couple of things. Going across the top, right? The header of your capability statement, get rid of all these fancy pictures and everything, right? You can have a little bit of a background, but those things distract from the message. And so right here, the message I'm trying to send is, and you can't see it because it's under the red line of the Z, but I have my capability in UEI. They instantly know I'm registered in SAM because I have a cage number and a UEI number. Okay, this company's registered in SAM, right? They see my logo, so they know the name of my company. They come across and they see my tags. We always talk about don't lead with your tags. Don't go in and say, oh, I'm an 8A firm. But put that 8A logo in the top right of your capability statement. Now the paper is screaming out that you're a service disabled veteran-owned business or an 8A firm, right? So those logos go in the top right. Those are vital because they tell a person something very fast, less than 1 second. They come across and they go, oh, they're in SAM. Oh, 8A, they must be even more mature because you had to prove some experience to even get an 8A certification, right? So there's these levels of subliminal input to the person who's reading it that communicates about your organization's maturity to them. They want to keep reading. I put in here a couple of contracting vehicles at the top, just a couple. And all it's doing is telling them, hey, this is my company. We're registered. We're an 8A, and you can reach us with this contracting vehicle, right? If you're at an earlier stage, it's okay if you don't have it, but you put what you have in that sense. And then coming down this format on the Z, the very next thing you want to show them as you come off the header and you just said, hey, this is who we are. Now you're saying the core competencies. This is what we sell. That you want them to look and go, oh, I get it. Data analytics, enterprise architecture, got it. And they see the core competencies. They keep going down in that Z format to the bottom. The next bottom quadrant they'll see is past performance. And the past performance is basically saying, this is who has paid us for the work we said we're experts at. So we said we're experts at data analytics, and you come down here and you can see that the Army and the Air Force have paid us for it. It's like, okay, there's a seal of approval by somebody else. It's called borrowed credibility. When they see that the Air Force has paid me, they're like, well, if they trust you, then I trust you enough to at least have a meeting. And then coming across to the right, it's differentiators. And remember, if you're brand new, you're really not going to have that many differentiators. But as you start growing, you'll have certain ones. For example, CMMI level 3 or ISO. Those are true differentiators from your competitors. They might not be differentiators on a particular opportunity, but from an organizational standpoint, they just learned a little bit about us and where we're registered, what we sell, who's bought it from us, and that we're mature enough to have gotten a couple of certifications. You'll notice at the very bottom is where I put the NAICS codes, where I put the contact information. No one cares about that stuff until they care about what is on here, right? So they want to see basically what do you sell and who's bought it from you. Then they might want to contact you. And that's why you want to push that type of information down to the bottom. It's still here. It's still very valuable, but it's not the first thing they need to see. Two other points I just want to make on the capability statement, and I'll move on because I got 4 more after this. My rule of thumb for this is 14-point font. Don't use any size lower than 14-point font on your capability statement, and you'll be doing okay. And I know there's people who are going to go, that's too hard. I got too much I'm selling. Then you don't understand how this is working. The purpose is to get them to see it right away, right? We do Microsoft 365 services, SharePoint, Power Platform. These are words. If you understand your top keywords related to what you sell, well, those are the same things they probably were searching on. And you can put a lot of information on a page with 14-point font, but you made it so much easier for them to read. You reduced the friction in them reading your capability statement. The last thing is capability statements are PDFs. In the top left side of Adobe Acrobat, go up to the file menu, go down to properties. That properties area is called metadata. It's file properties or metadata. You want to go in there and put some of the key information that you have, and go watch my training on the capability statement, and I tell you what and how to do it. But the reason you do that is because if you fill in that information, your capability statement will come up higher than your competitor. So watch my whole training on why that matters. The third marketing asset, and remember, I'm doing these in the order of priority. So the third marketing asset follows your small business profile and your capability statement. Your third marketing asset is your LinkedIn profile, your personal profile. You want to go into LinkedIn, create an account if you don't have one already. But when you have an account, it's establishing credibility. It's confirming that you are who you say you are. If you reach out to me, I get this often when somebody reaches out, they want to connect or get my advice or whatever. I go quickly look on LinkedIn. Who are you? Like, what have you been doing? And I get scared when I see nothing in there. I'm like, well, I don't know if you're real, not real, et cetera. And so when you fill out your LinkedIn personal profile, and it doesn't have to be overly complicated, there's something called minimal viable product. You do the minimum amount to make it a viable way of communicating who you are and confirming who you are. So for example, if you look at me, it shows the Army, it shows a couple of jobs, it shows my last companies I had, it shows the GovCon chamber. The other thing is the LinkedIn personal profile is this start for people on the journey of them knowing you in order to like and trust you. People buy from those they know, like, and trust. And so LinkedIn is helping them get to know you as they go down that path of liking and trusting you. So some key components on LinkedIn. And remember, I've got training for every one of these marketing assets individually. You can go back and watch the replays. But some key components, there's a lot of information on LinkedIn, but these are the 5 that I really want to make sure you're tracking on. Excuse me. The first one is your name. The most important thing about your name is it should just be your first and last name. LinkedIn talks about this and they advise it, but also I've seen people with a lot of characters after their name, and it makes it really hard to read in other places. Sometimes LinkedIn puts over on the right-hand side, hey, I see you looking at Neil McDonald. Other people who looked at Neil also looked at these other people, like let's say Gus Phelps. But if it says Gus Phelps, a really good guy from the GovCon Chamber of Commerce who been around for a while, blah, blah, blah. It's like it crowds it because LinkedIn doesn't leave enough characters available. So when I tell you get rid of your PhD, for example, or long language, it's not because I'm trying to be difficult. I'm saying because your name doesn't display correctly in other areas. The second thing is if you go by Jim, don't use James. I just sent an email to Thomas, this guy Thomas, and when I hit send, I was like, oh my God, I know this guy. He goes by Tom. And it drove me nuts because everything about his name, he says Thomas, but when you talk to him, he's Tom. I'm like, come on, unless you're in a legal document, just change it to Tom or Jim if you're James and Thomas, right? So use that common name that you like people to call you. It removes the friction between our relationship. The second thing is your headline. This headline typically for most people says CEO and president and founder of such and such, or business developer capture manager. Change it to what you do. We help federal agencies with data analytics or something. Like there's a whole training that I do on how to write good headlines, but make the headline be something that says, hey, this is how we can help you. We do this to help these people in order to achieve this result. When you do that all throughout LinkedIn, when people see your name, they'll also see how you can help them. They won't see your job title. Your job title is what they see down below in your profile. The next thing is your banner. Most times people see your name and your headline somewhere else, and they come to your profile, and the first new thing they see is your banner. And so make your banner reflect your company, right? It can look pretty decent, a couple of keywords up there, a little message, whatever it is. Just do something with your banner other than leave it blank. Most of us leave it blank, and it's enough to just give it a try. It doesn't have to be perfect, but if you give it a try and try to make it communicate what we do for the customer, that'll be great. So as people look at that and they like it, then they go, let me look at the profile. And when they start coming down, there's a featured section on your LinkedIn profile. And in there is where I want you to put your capability statement. You can put a lot of other featured stuff you might have, videos, pictures, white papers, whatever. You can put that in there. But the first thing should be your capability statement. So you make it easy for them to learn about you, right? Remove the friction for them to be able to learn about you. And the last thing that I really want you to pay attention to on LinkedIn, which is, I wish more people would do this, is many of us use generic email addresses in LinkedIn. This is a professional network. Don't hide your business email. Go in there, put your email, Neil McDonald at govconchamber.com. If you go in there, you can find it. In fact, if you go in there, you can find my phone number. My phone number is there not for random people to call me because I don't answer my phone, but it's for somebody. Let's use Gus as an example, who clearly knows my number, right? But, if he and I have a meeting and something's happening, he needs to call me. Well, he can find my number there. You're reducing the friction between in the relationship building between you and the other party, right? By providing the contact information. And so in there, you want your email, phone number, I suggest, or a company phone number. You also want your website, your YouTube channel, if you have it. Make it easy for people to learn about you and your company. Going with that, right, as you come down, you've got the LinkedIn company page. And the LinkedIn company page, basically it's the same as a personal page, except for the business. And the idea here, again, is to increase the credibility of you and your company. They can go in there and they can see, okay, this company has a LinkedIn page. There is some content. When you create a LinkedIn page, you use your company logo. On your personal profile, when you say you work at that company, that logo is displayed on your personal profile. These things subliminally increase your organizational maturity, your perceived value to the other people, right? And so that's really important. It also allows you, when you have a LinkedIn company page, to build a following. So many more people are going to follow you on LinkedIn than they will on your website. There's a reason your website is the very last one that I'm saying. So quickly, key components, the banner should be the same as your personal profile. You should really create it for the company and then share it across the board for everybody. You can't make employees use it, but you can certainly make yourself use the same one if you're the owner. And if you're in sales, you want to use the same one while you work at this company so that you are building that commonality back and forth, consistency of the branding. In there, there's an about section. The about section is similar to what you might put on your own personal page. And with the way we write it is basically a summary of your capability statement, just putting it in there. Go look at my training on LinkedIn where you can see where we talk about the framework and components that you can put in there. But the last one I wanted to mention on your LinkedIn company page is there is a button. And you want that button to lead back to your website. So somebody who comes in, they can go down a rabbit hole. And I'll talk a minute about what you could put on your website to help people out. But if they click on the button at the top, you don't want it to go to a form that says sign up or any of that stuff. You want it to go to your homepage, or on the absolute worst, you want it to go to your capability statement on your website. But really, I would suggest your homepage, because when you land, people are able to then go down this rabbit hole of learning about what you sell, what you talk about, your expertise, etc. Okay, let me pick up the speed a little bit. I'm running out of time here. The capabilities briefing deck. The whole purpose of the capability statement is to get you a meeting, get you in the door. The purpose of the capability briefing deck is to not talk for an hour in an hour meeting. It's to talk for 5 to 10 minutes to give an introduction of the company. It's to really just let everybody get comfortable talking for a second before we go into the sales call, which is a discussion around the questions you wrote on a call plan. You can watch my training on how to have successful meetings where you use a call plan, you go in with prepared questions. The capability deck is just wetting their whistle, getting them interested, getting them to see certain things you might want to show. And then the call plan is where you really go, hey, I've got 7 questions written down that I'm hoping to chat about with you. Perfect. Let's talk about them. If they see something in the capability statement or briefing deck, then they can talk to you about it and ask you about it. But you don't want to go into a meeting and just talk. You're not doing a presentation like I'm doing right now. You want to have a discussion. And so your capabilities briefing deck should be very few slides. And the last bullet I hit here for purpose is if you don't have a lot of experience, like 3 past performances, don't even use a capabilities briefing deck. I have 20 plus years of experience. I've been in federal market for a long time, run multiple businesses. If I started a new business today, I would use just a capability briefing deck. Capability statement. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm saying that's what I would do. And if I would do it, then you should do it as well if you're brand new or you haven't got 3 years of past performance, because you don't have really anything to put in the briefing deck. So why stress yourself out? Just use the capability statement and say that. Hey, I'm still early in the business, and so the capability statement is more than enough to walk us through. Some of the slides that you want on here, you can see it, but the first page, you want to make sure it has your contact information, your cage code, and a line that says, this is what we do, data analytics. And the reason on the title page is because often that briefing deck is just printed on somebody's desk and sitting, and somebody else walks by, another buyer. You want them to look down and go, GovCon Chamber, they build houses or whatever, right? The second slide is a summary quad deck. So quad like this, and you have 4 sections where you put key information. I have a whole handout that's available to the sustaining members. There's previous training on this in particular where I show what to put in each one, but your entire summary of your company can be in 1 slide. That's all they need. And it's really quick and easy for them to go, I got it. I know you are perfect. Let's move on. The third main slide is I call it an I love me slide. It's where you put all the logos, all these federal agencies, all these teaming partners you've worked with, basically all these people who have paid you. It's demonstrating perceived value by showing them these are the people who have paid us. And the last one is case studies. In there, you can put case studies that showcase the work you've done. And I might go a minute over, by the way, and I'm going to apologize already, but the company website, you can see it already, but the purpose of the capability statement is to get you a meeting. The purpose of a company website, it's to inform. And so this is where you talk about your company. You can put a lot of information, but the big thing that people mess up is they don't put your cage code, UEI, and capability statement easily found on your website. And my recommendation is put it on every page in the footer, so it's very easy for anybody to do more research on you by finding your cage, UEI, and capability statement. You can come back and look at this slide a little later. One last thing, just download the directory if you haven't. If you're going to be doing outreach with these marketing assets, we've released the July directory of the small business specialist. It's 1,000+ names, numbers, and emails of people you could reach out to and talk to. Okay, I'm running through because I love ending on time here at 12:30. But here's what I want you to do. And I know I went through really fast. Remember, I've got training on each one of those marketing assets. So go look for them in the replays, and you can start. Somebody in the comment probably told you how to get started. But here's the 2 tasks I want you to do. Go add your capability statement to LinkedIn. I said put it in the featured section or your experience section. Put it on LinkedIn today. The second thing is go to DSBS. SBA has turned on this feature where there's a link to your capability statement. But for most of you, it's a really old one. I saw somebody who had one that was 3 years old. Go in there and just update your new capability statement into DSBS. And you do that using connect.sba.gov. Really fast training today, and make sure you come back for other trainings. You can see on the page what we got going on next. But for everybody, remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. When you learn the process, you'll have the success. I'll see you in the next training.